morning. I will start with your question because that's a painful one. Basically, when you hear any loss of life generally, you take that with a lot of pain. And during the last 6-7 months, worldwide, everywhere in all of your countries, we were hearing every day about the loss of life, coronavirus, C-19. And now in Armenia, nobody even is watching the number of infected or dead in coronavirus. They present this data, but people are not interested because everybody's focus is on what's happening in Karabakh, in Artsakh. And it's double, triple painful because a lot of these young lost lives, these are young, bright people who are very patriotic and they want to war voluntarily. I mean, they want to fight for their homeland and they sacrifice their life. So I don't think there are words that can describe the pain that you get it. And this war is completely unhuman because from day one, Azerbaijan started also shelling civilian places like villages, cities, and the first day of the war they started with Stepanakert. Of course, there is loss of life on both sides, and that's regrettable. But I'm the president of a republic, but somehow you are president of a nation as well, which is not 3.5 million. There are another 150,000 living in Nagorno-Karabakh, and another 3-4 times more probably worldwide. And everybody's focus now is in what is happening there. And there are volunteers, and I know there are thousands of young boys that are even queuing to come from Russia, from United States, from Argentina, from Middle East. Because in order to answer some of your questions, we have to answer a question, what is there in this war for the parties? Well, if you look at Azerbaijan, what they are claiming that they are there to liberate Nagorno-Karabakh. Well, the question is, liberate from whom? 100% of population that lives in Nagorno-Karabakh in Armenian, so that means they want to liberate Nagorno-Karabakh from Armenians, when in modern vocabulary it's called ethnic cleansing, especially when you want to liberate them, and that them, people that are living there, they are ethnically the people that were living there for thousands of years. And basically, for 65 years, Nagorno-Karabakh was an autonomous part of Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic under the big empire, Soviet Union. But even then, Azerbaijan was trying to get rid of Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh. So Armenians never trusted Azeri side. And that's why in 91 they voted unanimously for independence. Well, imagine if they had a nice life there, why not they would have do that? And the first reaction of Azerbaijan was not to basically honor these people's opinion, like in many European countries now it's happening. Not everywhere, but in many. Well, I used to be ambassador to UK, and in UK when the Scots decided to vote for their independence in a referendum, the British government didn't send military to crash them. But in Azerbaijan, the first day of the referendum, there were pogroms in Baku of Armenians, pogroms in Sumgait, and then a war in Nagorno-Karabakh. Now, what is there for Turkey? Well, first of all, to show Azerbaijan that you are our ethnic brothers. Well, but they have many, of course. Central Asia, Mongolians are ethnic brothers, north of China. I want to watch if there is some trouble with their ethnic brothers in China. Are they going to interfere in China or not? So first to show that you cannot solve that problem without us, and we will help you to do that. So you need us. Dear brothers in Azerbaijan, you need Turkey there. You said we are here to help you. But if we come to help you, we probably will stay. And with us, Islamic militants. And if we stay there, we will have our say, not only on the internal politics of Azerbaijan, but we'll have also say on regional security, specifically energy security, because we will control the pipelines going from. Having the excuse that Armenians maybe will they'll bomb the pipeline, I have a question. Why didn't Armenia bomb the pipeline during the last 20 years? Why didn't they? Why did they allow Azerbaijan to make billions and buy weapons and kill Armenians? Why? Because there is a reason, because Armenians respect the international law and trading law as well. But now Turkey will control that energy, and it will basically have huge influence on energy security of Europe, especially those countries that are recipients of that oil and gas. And of course, those who are from Caspian and beyond from Central Asia that are the sellers. So Turkey is trying to become very dominant in Caucasus. That's what for Turkey. If I think about people of Nagorno-Karabakh, what are they fighting for? In brief, it will be they are fighting for their lives, their honor, their heritage, their religion, their families, their history, and their homes, their land. But in the meantime, fighting for that small nation of Nagorno-Karabakh is fighting for the security of the region, security of all neighbors there, including Russia, Central Asia, Iran, and others. And somehow indirectly, Karabakh is fighting indirectly for the security of Europe. I mean here, energy security, for example, security in Middle East. Because Turkey is involved in everywhere now. They are in Syria, they are in Libya, they are in Iraq. They cross the borders of Syria and Iraq. What about the territorial integrity of those states? They are claiming that Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, well, territorial integrity of Soviet Azerbaijan in the Soviet Empire. So Turkish presence there makes the whole issue a bit complicated. And if we're thinking about what is the path towards peace or resolution, the path is definitely, there's only one way going forward. Stopping the shelling, stopping killing, stopping the war, having a ceasefire, make some build-up of trust. Maybe this time we will need to bring international peacekeepers, those who are ready to come, and then restart the negotiations, but again between Armenian side and Azeri side, not the Turkey, because Turkey is not a side, they are the disturber. They cannot be a mediator because they're openly with one side, and they cannot be a party of negotiations because there is basically there is a question, what are they doing there? A NATO member is fighting in a conflict which doesn't have anything to do with NATO, using their weapons, NATO-trained soldiers, technology, know-how, NATO, in a third party which doesn't have anything to do with NATO. So that's a big question to European Union, you ask me. That's a big question to NATO. Have you given Turkey a green card to go and do whatever they are doing now? If yes, please tell us. If no, why are you allowing this to happen? Now Greece, I appreciate what the government in Greece and the parliament and the people of Greece are showing today, and I would like to ask them to raise their voice and louder, because I know you have the same problem in Greece as well. I mean, Turkey is bullying everybody. It's bullying Cyprus, it's bullying you, it's in Libya, it was in Egypt, Iraq, Syria, everywhere. And something has to stop this. And I think this is where we are allies. Not because we're ethnic brothers or we're old, both of us are old nations, but we have to stop it. And the key to ceasefire and the key to restart negotiations and key to enter the path of peace is stopping and taking out Turkey from this conflict. Otherwise, we will have big headache. Otherwise, we will really have something that would not be controlled. Otherwise, we'll have much bigger Syria than is happening in Syria. And that's a big risk for everybody. Now about recognition of Nagorno-Karabakh. Again, this is something that shows two different approaches to the same issue. And I'll give you two examples of that. In 1994, Armenians won the first Karabakh war. I mean, we really won it. Early at the war, everybody was saying that there's no way that Armenian can win. In 94, everybody was saying Armenians had the most powerful army in the region. But the ceasefire was agreed and ceasefires started. That was the moment Armenia could have recognized Nagorno-Karabakh, easy. You know, when you win it, there are no big obstacles, you can recognize it. But Armenia decided then not to recognize for a simple reason, because with the ceasefire, a new era, a new phase was starting, which was the negotiations for the future status of Nagorno-Karabakh. This is Minsk group with the three co-chairs. So Armenian side said, okay, if we recognize it, that will disturb the process of negotiations. So we'll not recognize it now. We'll leave the negotiations to come up with the final solution, and whatever the final solution, then we'll recognize it. So Armenians gave a green light of not disturbing negotiations, basically deciding, okay, we will not recognize it now. But of course, if we will not see that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, which is called war, and there is no light that will take us to negotiations, then probably, most probably, Armenia will recognize Nagorno-Karabakh. Okay? Because that's the duty of the state, and that's the duty of the whole nation. But for the moment, we still have hope. Okay? And another example, two completely different approaches. You have been in Arabah. Have you been in Shushi? Have you seen the cathedral? Have you seen the mosque? Okay. The mosque was destroyed during the First War, and who restored it? Azeris? No. Armenians restored a mosque with Armenian money, and one investor supported, and that mosque was restored. So in Shushi, they restored the mosque. They restored also their own cathedral, Christ the Savior. So the first week of fighting, what happens? Azeris bomb the church. See what Armenians have done, restoring a mosque. See what Azeris are doing, bombing the church. Now, because I have not answered about France, okay? I think I highly appreciate, let me start. 3 co-chair presidents, not the co-chair president, but the president of the co-chair states made an announcement calling for stopping the war and for ceasefire. And of course, the call was to Armenian side and to Azeri side, which include the Republic of Nagorno-Karabakh. But as I said again, that's not enough, because there is a third party, there is a big elephant in that room of the conflict, and that elephant is big and red, called Turkey. Until that elephant gets out from that room, it's very difficult to have a real ceasefire, or you have to put huge pressure on that third party. And of course, the timing was perfect for the aggressor. US elections, America is busy. COVID, everybody is busy. COVID, economic difficulties. So that's the C19. And it's the right time probably to start C20. I call it Caucasus 20. Another big trouble for everybody in the region. So it was not enough we are having C19, COVID-19. Now we have C20, which is the conflict in Caucasus. I highly appreciate and thank President Macron for his activity, for his support, and the French government. France represents Europe, but I think I hear more the voice of France rather than the voice of Europe. I don't hear the voice of NATO. I don't hear much of European Union's voice. I hear more of of France. And of course, here I have to say that we highly value the contribution from Russian side. You have to understand that Russia has signed agreements, and President Putin has confirmed again that they will honor all of their agreements, bilateral or multilateral agreements with Armenia, if Armenia is attacked. Russia is a country that has good relations both with Armenia and Azerbaijan, so it's a perfect country that can become a mediator, especially for ceasefire. And we thank Russia for doing that. But of course, we have hopes that Russia, again, like others, will exercise more pressure both on Azerbaijan and especially on Turkey. First of all, to start the ceasefire, to stop shellings of civilians. And there are people say it's war and you cannot escape civilian deaths. Well, in principle, yes. But again, I will add to my two examples of different approaches a third one here. If you were in Karabakh, you would have probably noticed that all military units are outside civilian places, outside villages, outside cities. Why? Because the military are outside because the soldiers serving there, they don't want their families who live nearby a village to be hit. If you don't know that, I would ask you to look at the data. You'll find out that on the border with Nagorno-Karabakh, most of the military units of Azeria are there close or inside the villages. Because if Armenians hit back, they will hit the village. That's two different approaches, because people are defending in Karabakh their home. So they don't want their home to be hit. So they take their artillery or tanks outside the village. So they hope that village will not be hit. But unfortunately, their villages are hit. The ceasefire was not kept. It was violated immediately, the first minutes of it, and with shelling of Stepanakert. And the war continues. Well, under the name of ceasefire, but it continues in many places. So I would like to ask all parties, including, first of all, Russian Federation, by thanking President Putin and Mr. Lavrov, I would like to ask them to put more effort and to make the ceasefire working, because there is no problem from Armenian side. We didn't start the war. It's the Azeri side, with the hope that they will finish the war in a day or two, with all of this might they have, with all of this new technology, equipment, drones, and Turkish army airplanes, whatever. I think the hope is still there, because I don't believe there is a military solution to this problem. You can gain more land, you can do ethnic cleansing, but eventually you will not win. Because the truth is there. We have seen another ethnic cleansing 105 years ago. Armenians living in Western Armenia or Eastern Anatolia for thousands of years. I mean, they were under the pretext of there is a war, first war, world war coming, Armenians are Christian, let's get rid of them. Okay. They killed 1.5 million. They created this huge diaspora. Otherwise, there's a question, where on earth they came, Armenians living in Chile, Argentina, and Brazil? These are the refugees that lost their land, their home, and had to live and find a shelter. They found shelter everywhere, worldwide. And to finish, I would like to thank all of you for your human bravery and honesty. Because you have to be brave and honest to come to a region where there is a real war and people's lives are lost. For your professional attitude, professional bravery, because you are here to tell the world the truth. And also, I hope one day you'll come back when the war is over, and I hope one day you'll go back to Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, and enjoy the beauty of that wonderful historic land.